This is the most popular phone on AliExpress. They've sold more than 50,000 of them, up to 100,000 actually. That's 5 times the next most popular, which is crazy when you think of it. Surely so many people can't be wrong, especially when it's rated an incredible 4.9 stars. But it starts incredibly cheap, at only 120-ish. Okay, that's before tax, but that's still really stupid cheap for a modern phone. So what's going on? Well, only one way to find out. Naturally, it's going to cost me more than expected, like all my videos. You see, besides the sneaky tax at checkout, they also caught me with temptation. There's a version with an unreal 12 gigabytes of RAM instead of only 8 on the cheaper version. It's also got double the storage too, for only £30 more. However, they were muchly redeemed by this big sale they had on, which cut the damage by 20 quid to a couple of pennies over 160 total, after tax. Here it is, our hopeful flagship killer took 15 days to semi-circumnavigate the globe to us, which is quite slow even compared to a lot of other stuff I've ordered from Ali Not Very Express. Admire as always their premium packaging. It's got some weight to it, this. Let's open it! But first, let's quickly run through what's promised, so we can, importantly with AliExpress, check that they match up to reality. It's meant to have a very sleek design from the pics. I really hope it lives up to it. The specs list a 6.7-inch screen, okay, 6.67 to be pedantic, and it's meant to be an AMOLED, just a little over Full HD, and 120Hz too, which is very impressive at this price. Hell, the regular iPhone still only has 60, and I don't need to tell you how much more that costs. The cameras should be a triple setup on the back, with a main 64-megapixel shooter, and a couple of much lower resolution ones, an 8-megapixel ultra-wide, and 2-megapixel macro, which sounds suspiciously like spec padding to me. The front one is a mediocre-sounding 16 megapixels, but don't worry, we'll test them. We'll put them all through their paces. Inside, 12 gigabytes of RAM is frankly insane at this price, and the ½ terabyte of storage is incredibly generous too. The processor is a MediaTek G99 Ultra, which tells me absolutely nothing because I've got no idea what it is and I don't know how powerful it is, so I'm very curious to see how fast it runs. Lastly is battery, a decent-sized 5000 mAh one with fast charging. There is more of course, but I think we've covered the main points. It feels well padded. I really hope it is, or this video may be shorter than planned. Plastic bag, let's get this off. I love these phone bubble wrap thingies. Yes, I'm strange. Poco M6 Pro. It doesn't slip off easy. They need to speak to Apple about their boxes. Poco. I'm starting to think this phone may have been made by Poco. Take this out, now we can see him. But first, what's in here? SIM tool under flap, quick start guide and other papers, and a case. Wow, that's a nice inclusion. It feels not the cheapest, but certainly not premium either. The main man, 120Hz AMOLED screen, and all the rest of the specs. Okay, we'll come back to this. Below, there's a 67-watt fast charger designed by Xiaomi. Unfortunately not a British plug, and wow, this is a substantial feeling cable. I like the orange accents. This has got to be one of, if not the highest quality cable I've ever received with a phone. I'm impressed. I guess the fast charging requires a thicker cable for safety. Now the hero himself, or villain, we're about to find out. It's got a very clean look, and it's got a screen protector pre-applied as well. Ooh, that's a pretty phone. I think this two-toned mirror and matte finish is very tasteful, and the large lenses look pretty cool too. These are probably the macro and flash. On the bottom edge, it's got USB-C and a speaker grill. It's got power and volume upright, and on the top, it's got another speaker and a headphone jack. I haven't seen one of those on a new phone in a while. Just go and buy one. On the final side, it's got just a SIM slot, which is also a hybrid SD card slot, so you could put a memory card instead of the second SIM. Kind of useful. As you can see, the edges are plastic, and I'm pretty sure the back, despite its looks, is too. But what you can't see through the camera is the feel, and the plastics really do reduce how premium it feels in hand, and it's quite lightweight. While this will make it more comfortable to hold for any period of time, it does cheapen it tactilely. That said, it doesn't really feel cheap and flimsy, just not premium, which is at odds with how it presents visually. Did I mention I like how it looks? Now let's turn it on. Hopefully it's not cheap on the inside. Poco MIUI I think I'm from the United Kingdom. Yes, I'll sign my life away for a budget phone. Preparing system, setup complete. You're ready to rock. And we're in. Immediate impressions is that this screen is really quite good. This ain't a cheap looking panel at all. In fact, this screen really impresses. The colours pop, and frankly, I think it looks better than some flagships I've seen, despite its lower-ish resolution. It gets brighter than I was expecting too, both on its manual mode and on max auto. And viewing angles ain't too shabby either. On top of that, it's buttery smooth due to its 120Hz refresh rate. That is though after it's settled down from getting its processor up to speed, a point which we'll get back to shortly. Frankly, despite its lower than flagship resolution but still perfectly sufficient at just over full HD resolution, this is a great display, one I'd happily use daily. Cameras. I wish I could be quite as positive about the cameras, but while they aren't insufficient given the price, they don't exactly blow me away. The main one on the back has a resolution of 64 megapixels, but the photos only look okay, and it's handily beaten by old flagships. The ultra-wide is a bit worse even, and the macro camera is basically just a gimmick. I was somewhat impressed by the flash, which seems to do a surprisingly reasonable job of lighting, at least indoors. The 16 megapixel selfie camera was a touch better than I've been afraid it may be, but video again really lets it down. It can't do above full HD, even with the main back camera, which on the positive side means it will take a long time to fill its generous ½ terabyte of storage, but is rather pathetic for a modern phone, and it makes me almost wonder what I'd even need the SD card slot for. Nice to have anyway, I suppose. Now the speed, the performance of this phone. This is not a fast phone. Honestly, it's outperformed in benchmarks even by 4-year-old flagships. But it doesn't feel that bad to use. It's fairly snappy for everyday tasks, although after you start it up, there is a bit of stutter and delay while it sort of gets up to speed. It's fast enough for basic games too, just don't expect blazing fast performance. The battery. At 5000 milliamp hours, the battery should be great. I decided to test its fast charging to see how quick it is, and boy is it speedy. It did 10% in under 4 minutes, and 50 in under 18, 75 in less than an hour, although it slowed down a fair bit for the last 25, but it was still at 100% in under 50 minutes. Very impressive. Speakers and headphone jack. The speakers are fine. Maybe lacking a little clarity, but really not too bad. Not too much bass either, but you don't really expect much from a phone in the first place, and definitely not one this cheap. But the headphone jack is just so nice to have on a phone again. I can put some of my poor unemployed wired headphones back on the job. Out of the box, this phone is on MIUI, Xiaomi's Android skin, but while I was testing the phone, a major and long-awaited update became available, upgrading this onto HyperOS, which is Xiaomi's newer take on an Android skin. It does come with a lot of bloatware, I should mention, the vast majority of which can be uninstalled, thankfully. Although there was so much, it was a bit of a chore. Unrelated, but I should mention that this phone does lack 5G. Finally, the reviews, and something suspicious is going on here. Its reviews on AliExpress are unbelievably good, and I don't mean the good sort of unbelievable, I mean the I literally don't believe them sort. Well, over 1,000 5-stars, and 0, actually 0 1 and 2-star reviews. Somebody's got to be fiddling with them. And if you think I'm being overly suspicious, as it is overall a pretty good phone, well, you can find a listing for this phone on Amazon where they've sold far fewer units, and nonetheless it's not hard to find the typical complaints, which you'd get with any phone. So should you buy this phone? Well, the great hive mind of AliExpress customers seem to have chosen well, in my opinion. This is a great value option, hitting pretty much everything important for most people in the budget market. Especially if you use your phone primarily to watch stuff, this phone is really ideal, with its awesome screen for the price. The mediocre cameras, processor, and lack of premium feeling materials are the main drawbacks, but none of those are so weak as to make it unrecommendable either. You just have to compromise somewhere at this price point, and they seem to have chosen where to compromise very well here. But, and this is a very massive one, you probably shouldn't get it from AliExpress. As of writing this, I can get it for slightly less from Xiaomi's own UK website at £159, including tax. Plus, there's a £10 off voucher currently, meaning it's even cheaper, and it'll probably come a jolly sight faster too. And if there's a problem with it, well, I'd rather deal with Xiaomi directly than go through a seller on AliExpress. Thank you for watching, please subscribe. Subscribe now. You don't know what you're missing out on. You don't know what you're missing